Everyone has an opinion on this one. Your parents tell you to buy. The finance bros on the internet tell you to rent and invest the difference. You're not sure who to believe anymore. So let's stop guessing. Today, we are going to run the actual numbers past month one. We are looking at rent increases, mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, appreciation, and opportunity cost. And when you lay it all out, you will see that one of these choices is building wealth, while the other is silently bleeding it. Let's introduce two people, Jake and Marcus. They both earn $55,000 a year, live in the same city, and both have $60,000 saved up in the bank. Marcus decides to buy. He purchases a $300,000 home, putting his entire $60,000 down as a 20% down payment. He takes out a 30-year fixed mortgage at 6.5%. His principal and interest payment is about $1,517. Add in property taxes and homeowner's insurance. And Marcus is looking at around $1,900 going out the door every single month. And that doesn't even include maintenance. Jake decides to rent. He finds a comparable place for $1,400 a month. He takes his $60,000 and drops it straight into an S&P 500 index fund, which historically averages around 8% annually. On day one, Jake looks like the smartest person in the room. His monthly living cost is $500 less than Marcus's. He has no property taxes, no maintenance responsibilities, and a growing investment portfolio. For the first 3 years, Jake is living light. If the furnace breaks, he calls the landlord. If the roof leaks, it's the landlord's problem. His untouched $60,000 investment has quietly compounded to roughly $75,600 by the end of year 3. Marcus, on the other hand, is feeling the weight of homeownership. He paid $9,000 in closing costs on day one. He has to budget 1 to 2% of his home's value every year for maintenance. That's $3,000 to $6,000 annually just to keep the place from falling apart. And here's the part that really stings. In the first few years of a mortgage at 6.5%, almost all of the payment goes to the bank. In year 1, out of the $18,200 Marcus pays toward his mortgage, $15,400 goes straight to interest. Only $2,800 actually chips away at his principal. By year 3, Jake has paid $50,400 in rent and has a $75,600 index fund. Marcus has spent over $103,000 on his home, with only about $9,500 in equity built through his payments. If the story stopped here, the finance bros would be right. But the story doesn't stop here. This is where the math quietly reverses. Jake's lease comes up for renewal, and his rent goes up 4%. That is $56 more a month. He barely notices it. $1,400 becomes $1,456. The next year, it's $1,514. It's just enough to quietly eat into his budget a little more every year. Now look at Marcus. His principal and interest payment is $1,517. That is the exact same number he paid on month 1. It is the exact same number he will pay on month 120 and month 360. This is the hidden mechanism most people miss. Rent is a variable cost that only trends in one direction. A mortgage is a fixed cost that inflation slowly makes cheaper in real terms. But there is a second invisible force working for Marcus. It's called leverage. By year 6, assuming a conservative 3.5% annual appreciation, Marcus's $300,000 house is worth about $347,000. His mortgage balance has dropped to $269,000. Marcus is now sitting on $78,000 in equity. But remember, Marcus didn't put $78,000 into the house. He only put $60,000 down. He is earning appreciation on the entire $300,000 asset. Not just his down payment. His money is working 5 times harder. Jake's index fund is doing great, growing to $95,000 by year 6, but Jake only earns returns on the money he actually invested. There is no leverage. Let's fast forward to the 10-year mark. Jake has spent roughly $193,000 on rent and owns nothing. His index fund has grown to $129,500. Marcus has spent roughly $285,000 in total housing costs, but his home is now worth $423,000 and he has $170,000 in equity. When you net it all out, Marcus is $40,000 to $60,000 ahead of Jake. And the gap only accelerates from here because rent never stops. There is no month 361 where the rent payment magically disappears. Jake's $1,400 rent, growing at just 3.5% a year, becomes roughly $1,870 by year 10. By year 20, it's $2,510. By year 30, the exact moment Marcus makes his final mortgage payment and starts living in his home basically for free, Jake will be writing a check for over $3,370 a month to a landlord. When you are 70 years old and living on a fixed income, you do not want to be negotiating a lease renewal. Now, I would be lying if I said buying always wins. If you plan to move in less than 5 years, buying is almost always a money loser due to closing costs and agent fees. If you live in an extremely high-cost market like San Francisco or Manhattan, the math heavily favors renting. And theoretically, if you are the rare person who takes every single dollar saved by renting and aggressively invests it without ever touching it, you could close the gap. But be honest with yourself. Most people don't do that. The monthly savings usually just get absorbed into lifestyle creep. Renting as a short-term strategy is smart. Renting as a permanent default you never question is incredibly expensive. The real trap isn't renting, and it isn't buying. The real trap is making a massive, life-altering financial decision based on today's monthly payment, without ever asking what it costs you over 10 years, 20 years, or a lifetime, because Ki ban nin exahone. That is the only math that actually matters. Do you think renting or buying is the better long-term play in your specific city? Let me know in the comments below. And if this video helped you see the real math behind the housing market, hit that like button and subscribe.